The 5 biggest questions for 2026 up next on Fantasy Baseball Today Express. Welcome into FBT Express on Thursday, February 19th. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Scott White. Let's take a look at the 5 biggest questions ahead of spring training heading into the 2026 season. Scott actually wrote an article about 25 of these. Do I have that right, Scott? 25?
It is 25, yes.
25. So if you want to read about all of them, go check it out on the website. But let's start here. Which version of Pete Crow-Armstrong and James Wood is the real one? We know first half, second half, very different for those two, Scott.
Yeah, I should probably mention I don't have great answers to these questions. I'm asking them myself, but yeah, first half, Pete Crow-Armstrong, 265 batting average, 847 OPS. Second half, 216, 634. James Wood, similar situation, 278, 915 in the first half, 223, 690 in the second half. It was a steep fall off. At the halfway point, they looked like they were going to be first rounders. Now they're being drafted more like third rounders. And I think that's okay. That deep tier of first baseman is going to start to go off the board in the same range. And I think I like doing that a little more in round 3 for safety. But obviously, Crow-Armstrong and Wood have higher upside, great steals potential. I mean, you look at their over, and instead of doing the splitting the first half, second half, instead of doing that, you just look at where their numbers finished last year, and they were great. And if they just do that again, maybe without the extreme highs and lows, you're going to be pretty satisfied drafting there. It's just neither one was particularly established heading into last year, and they both have some pretty clear flaws. Crow-Armstrong, terrible plate discipline. James Wood, not the optimal spray angle, launch angle to maximize his power. Of the two, the one that concerns me more is actually Wood, because not only does he have the ongoing issue with the spray angle there, but also his strikeout rate spiked in the second half. It was 38%. It was ridiculous, and a big increase from the first half. I don't have a great explanation for that. Obviously, it's untenable, but obviously it's an outlier too from what we've seen Wood do with the strikeouts before. So big mystery there, but that's why he's a little more concerning to me than Crow-Armstrong.
Spencer Strider's first season back from the internal brace surgery was up and down, obviously got worse as the season went on. We have questions about the fastball. So one of your questions here, is Spencer Strider salvageable?
Yeah, is he salvageable? It was a pretty awful return from that elbow procedure. 4.45 ERA, 1.40 WHIP. Some of the highest exit velocity readings for any pitcher. And the velocity was down. Even worse, the fastball didn't have the same carry it used to, so it didn't play like an elite pitch anymore. And coming back from an injury, those are really concerning elements. A lot of times, pitcher doesn't come back from that. But there are reasons for optimism, I think, in Strider's case. We'll start with the statistical ones. Even though that ERA, that WHIP finished where they did, 13.9% swinging strike rate on the year. That would have ranked 7th among qualifying pitchers. And he had a 9-start stretch in the middle of last season where he looked basically like we expected him to look. In those 9 starts, 291 ERA, 118 WHIP, 11.6 K per 9. The other reason for optimism is that he is a self-made pitcher. He kind of came up with his own mechanics. It went about it in a really scientific way, developing mechanics that created that great life, that great explosion on his fastball that he then lost with the procedure. So I think that suggests what happened to him last year is more mechanical than just a loss of ability. And also, given that reputation he has, he's going to be a better self-evaluator than the average pitcher would, understand best what it's going to take to get him back there. And I like that we've heard him emphasizing fastball shape. That's mainly what he was looking to improve in the offseason. We'll see when he gets on a mound what it looks like, but those are the reasons you might have optimism for him still.
All right, let's take a quick break. We'll be back right after this.
This isn't just combat. It's cinema.
Ready or not, here I come. Let's go!
Are you not entertained?
The new home of UFC, Paramount Plus.
Welcome back in FBT Express. The 5 biggest questions ahead of spring training. Can Ben Rice live up to the hype? Well, let's get people caught up on where the hype is. In the month of February, his NFBC ADP is 49. Can he live up to the hype?
So, yeah, there's obvious breakout candidate here. The industry's buying in heavily. I want to buy in, but the buy-in is so hard at this point that you really can't afford to miss on this. And it's not a breakout till it actually happens, of course, right? 255 batting average, 836 OPS last year, 26 homers. That was really good, especially for a guy with catcher eligibility. The expected stats say it could even be better. 283 expected batting average, 556 expected slug. And great pull air rate, left-handed hitter at Yankee Stadium. That it would seem like he's optimized for the venue too. So it's hard to explain why he underperformed his expected stats so much. There's also an expectation that he's going to be a true everyday player this year. I know the re-signing of Paul Goldschmidt kind of throws a wrench in that, but even since it happened, Aaron Boone has insisted Rice is an everyday player. Seems more open to playing him a catcher now, maybe on the days Goldschmidt plays first. So I remain hopeful, but he's going to have to, for me to actually take Rice in fantasy, he's going to have to go later than he's going on average, which could happen in some leagues, but it's not the average.
Last season, Cal Raleigh had a historic one, 60 home runs, but we're all expecting regression. The question is how much? So what's a realistic outcome here for Cal Raleigh?
So the 2 end points are he hits 60 home runs again, which obviously nobody's expecting. And the reason it was just by nature of it being historic, yes, you should not expect him to hit 60 home runs again. The other end point was he reverts to being a 30 homer guy, which is still really good for a catcher especially, but not second round worthy. I don't know, and I struggle with this anytime a player has an outlandish career best season. How you don't bet on it happening again, but how much of those gains will he retain? I think because nobody can really answer this scientifically, I think the best you can do is split the difference at 45 and hope for that. It's reasonable hope, and it would make Cal Raleigh basically Kyle Schwarber as a catcher. I mean, Kyle Schwarber as a DH is going in round 2, so why shouldn't Cal Raleigh as a catcher go in round 2? If Cal Raleigh was one of the top 3 players drafted, like his 2025 stats would have earned him, then I'm out. But as a second rounder, I think enough regression is baked in there.
Speaking of career years, Heraldo Perdomo was maybe the biggest breakout in all of fantasy baseball last season, but what will he do as a follow-up?
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of reason for doubt here. Obviously, just the unexpectedness of it all. And even for as well as he performed, the exit velocity readings were unimpressive, 16th percentile average exit velocity. But he still had a 91st percentile expected batting average, a 86th percentile ex-WOBA. By the data, he wasn't some huge overachiever. And what I like most about Perdomo, what gives me the most optimism is that, okay, he starts out doing things we've never seen him do before. And it's like, obviously he's going to regress. This is just small sample noise, et cetera, et cetera. He just kept getting better and better over the course of the year. Second half, Heraldo Perdomo slash 325, 417, 533. And if he just, it's sort of like Cal Raleigh. If he just repeats what he did, unexpected though it was, he's a second rounder. He's not being drafted near that. He's being drafted more like a 5th rounder or even later. And I think there's enough regression built into that then I'm on board. I see enough reason for optimism. I see enough reason for legitimacy here that I'm just not going to write Heraldo Perdomo off when he's already going at a multi-round discount from where he performed last year. So I'll take him at that point. I find him drafting him a lot. And, hopefully he'll give us 80% of what he did last year.
Again, if you want to read about the other big questions ahead of spring training, go check it out on the website, cbssports.com/fantasy/baseball. And for more extensive fantasy baseball coverage, listen to our full-length podcast, Fantasy Baseball Today, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Thanks for listening to Fantasy Baseball Today Express, and we will be back again later this week. Bye-bye.